At 12 years old, my life was forever changed. I came out of the closet and hell ensued in my home. My name is Felicia Carbajal. I'm from the Central Valley of California. I grew up in a conservative Christian fundamentalist home. Things were really weird in terms of my family's relationship with God. And at 5 years old, I saw Wonder Woman. And for me, I wanted to be her. I wanted to be like her. But then there was more, because I noticed little things about me. Even though my mom put me in dresses, and oh God, the horror of Felician dresses. Oh, not that I didn't look cute, don't get me wrong. This cute little Chicana girl looked always good, but I looked pained. When I look at pictures now, so pained. As a little girl, you kind of just do what everybody else does. There's a lot of expectations, especially in Latino homes, in terms of how you behave and the social decorum that you have. So like me being defiant and not wanting to wear a dress was always a big pain, because my mother's stoic. That's the best way to describe my mother. And so I grew up feeling like the people in the glass house. When I came out at 12, the next day, I don't know if people are familiar with Focus on the Family. Focus on the Family is a radio show, a syndicated radio show out of Colorado Springs. And every day, Monday through Friday, I would hear about how horrible gay people were. Every day. We deserve to die. We were the reason why things were wrong in the world. I had a hard time conceptualizing because, like, my cousin, who's a few years younger than my mom, who babysat me most of my life, like, and all of her partners that she had, like, we're cool with gay people, like, my cousins are gay, and I mean, I grew up exposed to all of this as a child, like, and those people were okay, like, I spent the night at their homes, so it's just really hard for me to, like, that inner conflict, 'cause I was really smart. I think I'm still relatively intelligent. But as a kid, I was just like, you're saying God's saying this is wrong, but I'm like, you made me read this book. I've read it like 5 times. The first time for a bike. Like the first time I read the Bible was because I got rewarded a bike. Like what kind of kid wouldn't read the Bible to get a bike? And for me, it was just that inner conflict was so huge that the first time I tried to kill myself, I knew that it wasn't God, if that makes any kind of sense. I knew it was just, I wanted everybody else to shut up. Like, I'm good. And it was just one of those really weird things that, you know, having to go be hospitalized. And like being really pissed because I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing a speech for a scholarship and I kind of need to not be in a nut hut, because I've already told you, and I've already told, you know, telling medical professionals, like, look, I did want to die. Like, I just don't want to be here. And, you know, obviously the doctors always had their suggestions of all of their different pills. So I've been on so many different pills. And so I went to court to get out of there because, and the judge agreed, like, I have my little issues, but my issue is that I'm gay and that I just want everybody to be okay with me and just let me be. And don't talk about any of that. Like that was I always knew the first time that I came out that I should never say those words again. You would think it would have happened in a shorter time frame, but it really didn't. The first time I smoked weed was when I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. So going through all of these mental health issues, with my cousin who was like 3 years younger than me, and he's such a badass. Like, he had made a pipe, literally had made a pipe out of different pieces that he had found in his dad's shop. And that was the first time that I smoked it. And I got in trouble because, well, you know, standing outside of a window or putting part of your body outside of the window to smoke doesn't really do the trick. It kind of still seeps back into the house. And so my mom was so angry, and it was more like the disappointment. So for me, cannabis didn't become introduced into my lifestyle until I was away at college. After I had had my injury, because I'm also a spinal cord injury survivor, so I had a horrible accident. My spine suffered from severe inflammation where I now have horrible degenerative disc disease from just my disc now that it's collapsed in the pieces that are moving. And during that time period, I was exposed to a lot more people who also used cannabis and also had various conditions that, you know, we were all wheelchair bound. And then I had a really good friend who, he's no longer with us, but he threw a joint at me. And he kind of locked me in the room with him, and I was all like, wait, hold on a second, like, what's going on? He goes, you're gonna smoke this with me and you're gonna be chill. Because I had told him, the first time I smoked, really smoked, because I'll never forget this. This was in San Francisco, and I was kind of seeing this girl. I don't think she wanted to go out with me afterwards, but I don't really blame her. I got super stoned with the group of people that were at this party at her house and locked myself in a room. And they had to take out the door things, whatever those are called. So I had shared with my really good friend, dude, I don't really smoke weed. I get it, I know it helps. I'm only taking, a few of these pills for my pain. I'm good, it's not really affecting me or bothering me. But we smoked, and it was different this time. And when I say different, I mean, the hair on my arms didn't stand up or on the back of my neck, and I didn't feel all tense and more anxious, I was just in the moment. Bearing in mind that years before, I was somebody who lived in the Bay Area and who used to take sacks of weed from Oakland to San Francisco because I had gay friends who were dying of HIV and AIDS, put it in my backpack, and I think at the time it was maybe a key, so, however big in my bag, nothing big, had some in-between books, to take it to my friends who needed it because nobody else cared, their own family. Even though my parents had issues with me, they still loved me. So for me, when I was just what, your folks don't love you? You're here by yourself? Those are the things that would play in my head, shit, of course I gotta go take that sack, duh. I lost a lot of friends, a lot of young people. So in 2008, I was privileged to be able to marry my partner, and I learned so much by getting involved in movement building with the Courage campaign. It's the largest progressive online organizing group in California. And they taught me respect, empower, and include. So those were core beliefs for me. It's adhere it, respect, empower, and include. And I was asked to do this reverse fundraiser called Coming Out of the Green Closet, Medical Marijuana in the LGBT Community in 2012. I asked a doctor who developed generation 1 of low-dose cannabis therapy. And he was invited to talk about cannabis and CBD and just give us the basics of the medical aspects. And he gave me a bottle of medicine, kind of, a little tincture, and I was just what am I supposed to do? And, take a couple sprays into your tongue, it's a sublingual spray, it's CBD, it's not gonna get you high, it's, non-psychoactive. And at that moment, I was having horrible anxiety because there was at least 100 people attending this particular event. People were starting to smoke weed even though they weren't supposed to smoke weed. I had mainstream LGBT organizations, HIV/AIDS organizations present, looking at me why are they lighting up? And about 15 minutes after I took the sprays that he had given me, I didn't care. Like, I didn't care that they were looking and that, they were not supposed to be smoking. None of it mattered. And what it did for me, like at that moment, that like freeing moment, where I was just like, wow, I learned all of these things. I learned respect, empower, and include, except for if it's weed. And that didn't like make any kind of sense to me. So I'd say in the next few weeks, I like stopped doing my work with the Courage campaign and had a good conversation with my wife about, oh, well, I'm gonna venture into something and let's just see. And I essentially started volunteering for that doctor, but just to observe so that I could make some suggestions and I could help him with messaging because that's what I do. And I saw like the big picture. I saw, wow, like, and when I say big picture, I mean in terms of acceptance, because my sole reason for being in this space is really to like take those counterculture ideologies that we had in terms of, this is a plant, it's just a plant, but make it more practical so that people understand that, for some people it's medicine, for some people if they want to have fun, let them have fun, but how do we do it in a constructive way? And I saw this as my perfect opportunity because, well, he was treating young, old, and he had dosed medicine. So I stood with him for about 2.5, 3 years. Mainly it was the parents who touched me because they're my age. Like, that could easily be me. And so for me, it was just like, damn, how can I not help this mom? How can I not help this dad? Like, it was, okay, another cross. But it was a cross that I wanted to pick up because God forbid, like. And so for me in, I want to say 2014, it's when things really exploded. I was invited to an international autism conference in Chicago by a new friend. That's the best way to describe her. She was a new friend at that time, but I was just intrigued. When I walked into the hotel, she immediately threw me into this other mom. Like, you guys have to meet. And I was just like, let me go privately unpack and medicate before I talk to any of these people. Like, that was what I was thinking in the back of my head. But then I'm standing across from this beautiful woman who had the most amazing curly hair. And she just had this smile on her face. And she told me, hi, I'm Talia. I'm a conservative Christian Republican from Texas. And Felicia was just like the thoughts that were in my head were like, oh shit, the last time my people, I don't do Texas. Like, my people were lynched out of Texas. Like, all of these floods of thoughts were going, you're a Republican. Oh no, do you hate gays? Like, can you tell that I'm gay? Like, all of these things at once. And she looked at me and she said, I'm going to flip my red state green. Can you help me? And I think that is why I've remained in this space for so long in terms of pushing the industry and brands to be social entrepreneurs and to think about community and to think about everybody as an individual, because that's what I learned during the LGBT movement. That's what I learned as a young gay person coming out, becoming an adult in this world, like helping people who are sick and dying, who are my friends. It was just like, you have to have a lot of compassion in this space, especially with cannabis. Like, I'm so fortunate that I've been able to meet moms. Like, it went from meeting moms from outside of California to coming back here and then meeting these moms who've been doing it for a long time and who are the OGs, who've been planting the seeds and having the conversations and just being bold and brave and creating this space. So for me, it was just like, I just want to help. Like, how can I help you guys? Once again, my name is Felicia Carbajal. I'm an activist and a proud cannabis patient who, with my dying breath, I'm going to continue sharing this message about how cannabis saved my life, how cannabis continues to revolutionize so many other people's lives. I'm going to fight for us, for me, for your kids, for your grandkids, to understand that cannabis is a viable option, and that dealing with the stigma and perception that other people have is absolutely worth it for your health and wellness.